The Bold and the Beautiful. Hope's dream wedding becomes a nightmare. Carter arrested for Quinn's alleged murder. Daphne's shocking accusation. And a hidden conspiracy unravels. It was supposed to be perfect. The wedding of the year. The kind of day that redefines legacy, heals wounds, and creates a new chapter in the most powerful families of Los Angeles. The beach was glowing under golden sunlight, white silk blowing in the breeze, candles flickering in ornate glass lanterns. The scent of gardenias floated through the air. Brooke Logan, beaming with pride, clutched her daughter Hope's hand as they walked down the aisle. At the altar stood Carter Walton, calm, strong, elegant. Ridge Forrester stood beside him, acting as efficient a symbolic bridge between two houses that had finally found peace. Everyone was watching. Everyone was smiling. And Hope, visibly pregnant, glowed with a joy no one had seen in her since her marriage with Liam collapsed. But nothing ever stays beautiful for long in the world of the bold and the beautiful. As the priest raised the age-old question, if anyone here knows a reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace, the air grew still. A moment of silence stretched across the waves, hanging heavy over the ceremony. Then came the scream. I object, heads turned. Gasps followed. Charging down the aisle in a tailored black suit, high heels digging into the sand like daggers, was Daphne. Her voice cut through the ceremony like lightning. Carter Walton is not who you think he is. He didn't just steal my business, killed Quinn. Panic rippled through the guests. Cameras dropped. People rose from their chairs in confusion and horror. Brooke pulled Hope protectively behind her. Ridge stepped forward, blocking Carter as security moved too slowly. Daphne held up a USB drive like a weapon. This contains a full message thread between me and Quinn from the days before she vanished at coordinates, texts, and Carter's final call log. He was the last person to see her alive. She disappeared the same night she confronted him on the bridge in Venice. Murmurs turned to shouting. The press surged forward. Someone screamed. Hope clutched her belly, her face going pale. Something's wrong, she whispered. The baby, she dabbled over in pain. Carter looked stunned, not guilty, blinded. This is insane, he said. I didn't hurt Quinn. She left. She ghosted everyone. That's not on me, but the LAPD had already been tipped off. Two uniformed officers appeared at the top of the dune, descended the sand-covered staircase, and read Carter his rights in front of his bride, their families, and the entire fashion elite of California. He was handcuffed at the altar, still wearing his wedding tux. Hope screamed. Brooke shouted. Ridge tried to stop the arrest. Thomas rushed to Hope's side as she sank to her knees, pain gripping her body. But Thomas had something else on his mind too, because he'd seen Daphne. The flowers, innocent on the surface, matched the arrangement that had mysteriously appeared backstage before the ceremony. And Thomas, ever suspicious, had removed them and found what no one else had noticed. A tiny, barely visible microphone woven between the stems. A listening device. He took it, quietly, slid it into his pocket while the chaos erupted. Daphne's eyes locked with his for a split second, and that was all the confirmation he needed. Something wasn't right. Not about the timing. Not about the evidence. Not about Daphne's motives. Because Daphne wasn't just a stranger from nowhere. She was Quinn's former business partner. Back at Forrester Creations, the team scrambled. Hope was rushed to the hospital. The wedding site was sealed off. Carter was booked and charged with suspicion of murder. But the deeper Ridge dug, the more questions surfaced. Why would Quinn, fiercely independent, once madly in love with Carter, vanish without a trace after years of rebuilding her life? Why would Daphne suddenly reappear, now, during the wedding of the man she claims is a killer? Eric Forrester, crushed by the news, retreated into silence. Donna tried to comfort him, but the wounds from Quinn's departure had never fully healed. The idea that Carter might have done something to hear a woman once central to their lives was almost too much to bear. But not for Thomas. Thomas couldn't shake the feeling that Daphne wasn't interested in justice. She was interested in money. And the closer he looked, the clearer the picture became. Quinn and Daphne had worked together on a high-end jewelry line years ago, a boutique concept that failed publicly. But what few people knew was that they still had a shared vault of assets. Diamonds, sketches, designs, a collection insured under both their names. If Quinn were declared dead, Daphne could legally claim the holdings as the sole surviving partner. If the death was ruled a homicide and no body was recovered, Daphne could cash in without ever having to find Quinn. Thomas confronted her backstage at Forrester 2 days later. "I know what you did," he said coldly. "And I've got your mic. You bugged the wedding. You timed it down to the second. This wasn't about stopping Hope from marrying Carter. This was about flipping the legal narrative before anyone had time to look deeper." Daphne didn't deny it. "You want to know what happened on that bridge?" she said, voice low. "Ask Carter. I wasn't there. But I know Quinn didn't leave willingly. She didn't vanish for no reason. So where's the body?" Thomas fired back. "There doesn't need to be one. Just enough evidence, enough noise, and enough legal momentum." She walked away, unbothered. But Thomas was already moving behind the scenes. He handed the listening device to Ridge, who brought it straight to Carter's lawyer. Surveillance without consent, a planted narrative, tampered digital evidence. And then came the twist no one saw coming. Quinn was alive. A hotel clerk in Venice, reviewing surveillance tapes from the night of her disappearance after being tipped off by Forrester lawyers, spotted her face blurred, hooded. But undeniably Quinn boarding a water taxi alone, just minutes after Carter's supposed final meeting. Ridge and Eric flew to Venice immediately. The trail was thin, but real. And within 72 hours, they found her. Alive. Angry. In hiding. Quinn had staged her own vanishing act. "I wanted out," she told them coldly. "I was done with the drama. I didn't want to be Carter's complication anymore. I didn't want to be Eric's regret. I was building a new life. I didn't think anyone would miss me but Daphne," Ridge asked. "She accused Carter of killing you. She tried to ruin Hope's wedding. She's broke," Quinn said flatly. And bitter and desperate, Quinn returned to LA. In secret, the charges were dropped. Carter was released. But the damage was done. Hope had gone into premature labor from the stress. Their daughter, tiny but strong, was in neonatal ICU. Hope hadn't forgiven him. Not because she thought he was guilty, but because she thought he should have told her everything about his past with Quinn long ago. "I can't marry someone who keeps secrets this big," she whispered from her hospital bed. "Not again. I won't live like that." Carter, shattered, held his newborn child and said nothing. Daphne fled the city, her credibility destroyed, her legal access to the business assets now under investigation. Quinn filed suit. Thomas, always the one holding back the tide of disaster, walked away from the mess with one thing in his pocket bouquet. And inside, he found something else. A ring. Quinn's. It had never made it to the bridge. Meaning one thing was still unclear. If Quinn left by choice, why did she leave her ring behind? The mystery isn't over. And the bold and the beautiful just proved once again a wedding is safe. No love is untouchable. And no one is ever really gone. The bold and the beautiful. Hope's pregnancy in jeopardy. Carter's bloody confession. And a hooded mystery woman turns the case upside down just when it seemed that the chaos had peaked. The Bold and the Beautiful unleashed yet another shocking development that has turned lives upside down. Hope Logan, still reeling from Carter's arrest and the destruction of her wedding, has now been thrust into the center of a medical crisis. Her pregnancy is at risk, and the stress that's been building for weeks has pushed her body to the brink. Doctors have delivered the chilling news. One more emotional blow could end the pregnancy. Hope is confined to bed rest under strict observation. No stress. No confrontation. No surprises. But in a world where drama explodes by the minute, staying calm isn't just difficult, it's nearly impossible. especially when Carter Walton, now released from custody after Daphne's evidence began to unravel, arrives at the hospital with a devastating confession. He requests a private meeting with Hope against the recommendation of doctors Brooke and even Ridge. But Hope insists. She wants answers. She deserves answers. Carter closes the door. His hands tremble. What I'm about to say, he begins, might hurt. But I need to say it anyway. Hope nods weakly from her hospital bed. Carter takes a deep breath and drops the truth. The night Quinn disappeared, we fought. Badly. She told me she was pulling all her money from the joint account. Everything from our shared jewelry project. She said she was done with the drama. With me. With everyone. She planned to vanish and she wanted the funds to do it. Hope's eyes widen. That wasn't in the report. I didn't tell the police, Carter continues. Not the full truth. I panicked. Because after she said all that, I grabbed her arm. I didn't mean to hurt her. I just wanted her to stop walking away. But she twisted, slipped, fell. Her head hit a table leg. There was blood. Not a lot, but enough to scare me. I called for help. I ran to get my phone. But when I came back, she was gone. The room falls silent. Hope's voice breaks. So the blood in the workshop is real, Carter admits. But it wasn't murder. It was an accident. She left on her own. I swear it. But someone else had used that blood. Daphne. She took that evidence and built a story, a carefully constructed illusion of homicide that got Carter arrested at the altar and Hope sent to the hospital in the first place. Carter's voice cracks. I didn't kill her, but I covered up that we fought. I was scared. And that gave Daphne everything she needed to destroy me. Hope is overwhelmed, her breathing shallow. Machines beep erratically beside her. A nurse rushes in. No more stress, she warns. This baby's already under too much pressure. Carter leaves quietly, crushed by his own truth. And just outside the room, Liam Spencer is waiting. He watches Carter walk away, jaw tight, fists clenched. Because Liam has been waiting for a moment like this not to protect Hope, but to reclaim her. In recent weeks, Liam has positioned himself as the reliable presence at Hope's side, bringing her meals, holding her hand, talking to her stomach. The world sees a loving ex-husband stepping up in crisis, but his motives are far more calculated. Liam never accepted Hope marrying Carter. He tolerated it publicly, but inside, he seethed. He believes that Hope is safest with him, that their shared history and connection should never have been discarded. And now, with Carter's name stained by blood, Liam sees his opening. And he's using it. He manipulates Brooke, plays on her maternal instincts, and subtly convinces Ridge that Carter may still be hiding something. But most of all, he whispers doubts into Hope's ear when no one else is listening. Do you really think Carter told you everything? If Quinn planned to run, why didn't she say goodbye to anyone else? Are you really ready to raise a baby with a man who hides blood on his hands? And slowly, Hope begins to crack. But then comes the twist. Finn, working late at the hospital, is approached by Ridge with a digital copy of a blurry surveillance video taken from a building across from the warehouse where Quinn was last seen. It's old footage and nearly unusable. Most of the Forrester legal team dismissed it. Too grainy. Nothing usable. But Finn doesn't. He enhances the footage, adjusts the spectrum, zooms in, and finally, on frame 3712 he sees it. A figure. Hooded. Female. Not Quinn. Not Daphne. But someone else dragging a dazed Quinn toward a vehicle parked outside the warehouse. The timestamp. 15 minutes after Carter claimed Quinn vanished. Which means someone else was there. And Quinn didn't walk out on her own. Finn alerts Ridge immediately. The footage is shaky, but it confirms Carter wasn't the last person with Quinn after all. And that changes everything. Hope is told the truth under careful supervision. Doctors monitor her vitals. But instead of spiraling, something shifts. Her eyes steel. Her hands stop shaking. She clutches her belly and says, "I need to find out who took her before this baby is born." Brooke, horrified at what this stress could do, begs her to let it go. But Hope is done being the victim. She's going to solve this, and she's starting with Daphne. Meanwhile, Thomas has been tracking Daphne on his own. He's traced a debt trail hundreds of thousands owed to foreign investors after her and Quinn's failed jewelry venture. If she could cash in on Quinn's life insurance, or assets left behind in Quinn's name, all her problems would vanish. And if Quinn's disappearance could be twisted into a homicide, that inheritance would be even cleaner. Thomas takes this intel to Finn, and together they begin to piece it together. Daphne forged texts, manipulated GPS data, used Carter's panic as a smokescreen. And she wasn't working alone. Someone else helped her. Someone who's still out there. A woman in the shadows. The hooded figure from the camera. And now, the question isn't just where is Quinn? It's who took her and why. As Forrester Creations braces for another storm, Carter is cleared of murder. But his future with Hope is in ruins. Liam seizes every moment to get closer. Brooke grows increasingly torn. Rich begins asking his own questions about Daphne's past. And Finn continues to review the footage frame by frame, hoping to extract one more clue. And in a remote villa outside Rome, Quinn Fuller is locked in, drugged, and trying to escape. The woman watching her. Her name is still unknown. But she's wearing Electra Forrester's perfume. And she knows exactly what she's doing. The Bold and the Beautiful has entered a new era of secrets, lies, and buried identities. And Hope's baby may be born into a world where nothing and no one is what they seem. The Bold and the Beautiful. Will Spencer's truth destroys everything Electra shattered, Luna exposed, and Katie's worst fear comes true in a twisted chain of misjudgments, disguises, and heartbreak. The Bold and the Beautiful delivers yet another gut-punching scandal that's rocking both the Spencer and Forrester families to the core. At the center of this emotional explosion stands Will Spencer, played by Crew Morrow, once the golden boy of the Spencer legacy. Now scrambling to save the only thing he thought was stable in his life, his relationship with Electra Forrester, portrayed by Linnea Grace. But when truth and guilt collide, even the best intentions can destroy everything. It all started on a night that should have been forgettable. A party, a little too much to drink, blurred lines, and a tragic mistake. Will, stumbling drunk and disoriented, thought he was walking into a private, intimate moment with his girlfriend Electra. Instead, he ended up in the arms and beat-off Luna Nozawa Lisa Yamada, whom the entire world, including Will himself, had believed to be dead. What made the betrayal unbearable was the deception. Luna had picked up a discarded masquerade mask identical to Electra's, slipped it on, and seduced Will in the shadows. A setup? A twisted moment of impulse. It didn't matter. The damage was done. In the sober morning light, Will was racked by guilt. Every instinct told him to bury the truth. Electra hadn't noticed. Luna was still keeping her return from the dead a secret, and Katie Logan, his mother, warned him clearly, "Don't say a word." This isn't about honesty, Will, Katie told her son in no uncertain terms. It's about protecting the people you love. Sometimes the truth doesn't save relationships, it obliterates them. Katie knew the Logan Forrester Spencer web too well. She'd lived the wreckage. She'd watched love combust under the weight of confessions that were meant to cleanse but only ended up condemning. But Will couldn't live with the lie. He loved Electra. And that love, twisted as it now felt, pushed him toward the most dangerous move of all, coming clean. At first, he tried to justify it to himself. It wasn't his fault. He hadn't gone looking for Luna. He hadn't betrayed Electra intentionally. He'd been tricked. Luna had impersonated Electra, and she had taken advantage of his vulnerable state. But the facts were stubborn. He hadn't noticed. He hadn't stopped it. And he hadn't told Electra the moment it happened. So he sat her down. At their favorite restaurant just past closing. No crowd. No distractions. Just them. Will looked Electra in the eye and told her everything. The drunken night. The masked figure. The mistaken identity. The gut-wrenching realization that Lunaliva had taken something sacred and turned it into betrayal. And as Katie had predicted, it went exactly how he feared. Electra didn't just react with shock, she reacted with devastation. Her face twisted in disbelief, then pain, then rage. You were drunk, she said, shaking. Fine. But you slept with me the next night. You looked me in the eye. You held me. You told me I was your everything. You knew by then that it wasn't me, didn't you? I didn't want to lose you, Will whispered. I was ashamed. I didn't know how to say it, Luna. Luna's dead, Electra snapped. No, Will admitted. She's not. She's alive. She faked her death. The silence that followed was worse than screaming. Electra stood up, eyes full of betrayal. So you've been keeping to secrets. Not only did you sleep with someone else thinking it was me, but you also knew she was alive and never told me. Do you have any idea how that makes me feel? Will reached for her, but she backed away. No, don't touch me. You don't get to say sorry. You had a choice. You chose silence, and then she left. Just like that. No goodbye. No second chances. Just the deafening sound of heartbreak, heels clicking on tile, and the crumbling of what could have been their future. Back at the Logan house, Katie waited anxiously. When Will returned, hollow and defeated, she didn't say I told you so. She just held her son as he collapsed into tears. I didn't want this, he said through sobs. I wanted to be honest. I thought if she heard it from me, it would be better. That I could prove it meant nothing. That she'd understand. She's young, Katie said softly. She need time. Maybe one day she see the difference between betrayal and confusion. But today, all she sees is pain. Electra, meanwhile, returned to Forrester in shock. She ignored calls, canceled meetings, shoved aside models and stylists trying to check in. Even Steffi noticed. What happened? She asked gently. My boyfriend slept with a ghost in a mask, Electra whispered. And now I don't know who I can trust. The truth about Luna alive, now implicated in one of the most controversial acts of deceit in recent Forrester memory, was spreading. And it wouldn't stay quiet. Luna's decision to wear Electra's mask, knowing Will would mistake her identity, painted her in a new light. Victim or predator. Survivor or manipulator. Opinions split. But one thing was certain, Luna's return from the dead would no longer be a triumph. It was now a scandal. A scandal entangled in sex, betrayal, and a broken love story that never had a chance. Meanwhile, Will spiraled. The press hadn't picked it up yet, but it was only a matter of time. Luna had already resumed contact with a few people. Her presence was no longer a secret. If word got out, the story would explode. And if it did, Electra would relive every moment all over again in front of the world. He texted her, called her. Nothing. He stood outside Forrester Creations one morning, hoping to see her, hoping to say one more thing. But she walked past him like he wasn't there. Tears in her eyes, her heart already somewhere else. And Will? He finally understood his mother's warning. Honesty may be noble, but sometimes it's lethal. Now he faces a future without Electra, without peace, and with the permanent scar of a night he never asked for but can never take back. Luna's actions will have consequences. Katie knows the media will devour her if this ever leaks. Brooke may get involved. The Forresters might protect Electra by exposing Luna themselves. And still, one question lingers in the minds of every viewer. Can love survival even one built on a mistake? For Will Spencer, that answer remains unanswered. But for now, he walks alone. And Electra cries behind closed doors. And the bold and the beautiful reminds us once again secrets may be deadly, but the truth can be far, far worse.
Oh.